Josh has such a unique story that he's able to connect with just about almost everybody.
I really hope that this project does have a bigger and deeper reach.
Josh's story is in a sense a story that all people can relate to.
Well, this is a timeless story. Seeing his story come alive has been very touching and very poignant.
I'm privileged and honored to be the producer of this Josh McDowell film.
Everybody's doing something, headed for the same thing, headed for the same goals. From the practical sense, it's a great experience to be a part of this.
The viewers of this film are going to be from all walks of life, from all faiths, or even lack of faith.
It's not a Christian film. We're not making this film really for Christians, although Christians will enjoy it because of the storylines, which we can talk about, will impact all types of people. But I think that this is an evangelistic film.
And I'm so thrilled to meet and get to know Josh in such a more intimate way and understanding of the man behind the books, you know, that has touched the lives of so many millions of people around the world.
Well, I hope it just becomes one of many resources that God uses to break down barriers, especially overseas and other cultures. I think over the last 50 years in ministry, probably the most powerful message we've had with both young people and older people responding has been my personal testimony.
It's a very vulnerable story, so the sets that are chosen, the way that it's being filmed, the crew that's been chosen, it is just perfect.
Josh grew up in an alcoholic situation. He was sexually abused. His family was very dysfunctional. We had a dad that was present at home but was really absent. And then Josh's intellectual skepticism to Christianity, all those things culminated in this story of early childhood up to his salvation experience.
And until he was confronted with the truth about Christ in trying to disprove it, he really didn't believe in God. He didn't believe in a loving God.
And I believe that audiences around the world are going to be able to identify with this boy and then young man struggling to carry on in the face of many obstacles, many blows. And after an initial meeting with Josh and his staff and his wife Dottie, I wrote the first draft, the first few drafts of the script and the polish and so forth.
I think Chris has done just an amazing job of capturing that story, allowing people to be able to relate to that.
Well, there's a lot of energy and excitement on the set.
I'm loving working with the crew. I love the camaraderie that's developed in a very quick time, the professionalism of everybody that we're working with.
I don't think any crew would ever live up to the crew that we've had here.
It's been a good team of professionals and a lot of new people too that have helped out.
I think the most impressive thing that I have seen is watching the crew.
Doug Maddox is just a great guy. He's a wonderful producer. Rich Brower has been a fantastic DP, cameraman, and his team have loved working with them. Jean-Yves Munch from France has been such a pleasure to work with. He's just such a talented sound recordist, ably assisted by David Johnson. I take joy in saying good things about Henry Joy, our first AC, and the supplier of the red camera and all the lenses we're using. Another highlight for me is working with my daughter, Sarah, who is an incredibly talented editor.
Both Josh and Dottie were so touched, and in fact, it was a real emotional experience for them to be here in Michigan. I think it was powerful for him. It made his story come alive again.
Shooting films in fall in northern Michigan is about as great as it can be.
It's been incredible. It's not a highly filmed area. We hope that will change from now on as we keep bringing more films up here.
We're shooting in Michigan primarily because this is the state where Josh was born and raised. Though he technically grew up in the South, we chose to film in northern Michigan because of the beauty of these surroundings. We've been shooting in the Traverse City area.
It's just perfect for remembering the early years of Josh. It's not coming up, just filming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3 weeks and being done. We've spent the time, we've taken the care, and we are filming authentically.
We're in autumn shooting here in Traverse City, and that also was deliberate on our part to take advantage of the wonderful fall colors.
We have filmed all 4 seasons here, and it's been a lot of fun.
This is about as perfect as it can get. And I've shot, I don't know how many movies in the fall, and every one of them I'm thankful for, because we could be sitting behind a desk right now, you know? I'm sitting on whatever this thing is.
I have driven the ATV, so I'm happy. Casting is significant in a film like this.
You know, I remember how we cast Alan Williams in the role of Josh, a key role, obviously, for the film. He was the very last person to audition for that part.
A couple things I'm looking forward to in this production is really getting into the heart of the story and the meat that's there with Josh's history.
It's a real privilege to be a part of something that tells the life of Josh McDowell.
The one thing that stood out most to me would be just the actor's emotion.
Carmela, who plays Edith, is a trooper. She is amazing, absolutely amazing actress. And Tom, who plays Wilmot, the abusive dad, is also another A-plus actor. And Alan, who plays old Josh, and we've got John, who plays young Josh.
You know, I loved working with John Klicka. What a talented young man, a bright young man, a joy to work with. And he had so much enthusiasm for the part. And he ended up blowing everybody away.
The environment around the set has been great, and everyone's been really cheerful, and some of the scenes have been really hard.
It feels like it was really them. What's the time period piece, 1950s, and so we've got cars from that vintage area, we've got wardrobe. This is an incredible, fun movie to work on.
The movie is set during the 1950s for the most part. So we're talking about an era 60 plus years ago. And in recreating that epoch, that period of time, there are many opportunities, I think, to create a style that is evocative of another era, another time.
Art direction is so important. Art department by Philip Carroll has just been marvelous to work with. Gosh, when I saw his work, I said, I want to work with that guy. And he has been performing outstandingly, putting together every set that we need. We've got Mike Hamilton, the transportation manager, who owns probably about 20 of these vintage cars himself, and then we're bringing up cars from all over. He's calling on all his cards to bring out. We'll have a football scene with 12 of these vehicles.
I'm just amazed how they found this place here, and they found the old cars and everything like that.
When we found the 55 Chevy, we were really thrilled, but we were looking for an antique, rusted out truck as well. And I'm like going, do you have any cars that are similar to the ones you rebuilt? He goes, well, you don't want to see them. Sure enough, it was the rusted antique right in Chris's script. It was just a great find. We were so thrilled.
Movies are complete pictures made up of many fragmented pieces that fit together, and in a good movie fit together so seamlessly that the viewer doesn't realize that he's seeing bits and pieces. He sees instead a very compelling whole.
We put a 4x5 foot mirror in the road and then filmed into it with our production camera, and then had the Ford truck, or the big blue truck, actually hit the mirror and just obliterate it, but it felt like we were standing in the road getting hit by a truck. And that's what they're cleaning up right now, because there's busted glass all over the place, but it was on purpose, and everybody's happy and nobody got hurt, and the shot is unbelievable.
The particular shot we're working on at the moment is obviously of primary importance in the moment of filming, but it must also be evaluated for its merits within the bigger context of the whole movie.
What we shot were little interstitial pieces of the film, and So we kind of needed a roadmap sometimes to figure out, well, wait, no, it was that, and then this was this, and that was that. And so what was fun about that was to watch Chris Cruz and try to keep it all straight. At the end of the day, all of this is about faith and trust and grace.
We found a wonderful location of an abandoned farm, which was part of the story, that Josh revisits.
But this is beautiful. We found a great location. Today we're at the Brzezinski farm. We're filming all over Traverse City, and this farm itself is a godsend because of how we found it. It's a private residence. It's just perfect for remembering the early years of Josh.
So it has this run-down, beaten, weathered look to it, and Josh is walking through it, imagining, remembering what he went through as a child. So just with that setup alone, we're in sort of another dimension, another world of memory.
Being on this property right here is not the property where I was born and raised, but it's so similar to it. And I guess a hard part for me for the last 2 days is just bringing back a lot of memories. Some good and some not so good. But I don't know how they could have found a more beautiful place to shoot this film.
This is the time to capture Josh's story in a significant way so that it can be used for years to come.
And when it's all said and done, and we get this thing distributed, because the goal is to give this out as many places as we can internationally, put it into not just English, but we've already thought of 30 different languages that we'd like to put it into, not just because we want to put it into languages, but because the need is out there. People have heard about this project across the world and have said, hey, when you get it done, we want it in our language.
I'm so thrilled that Josh has a vision for many, many languages for this film.
The ultimate goal is to give it away as often as we can.
Well, because so many parts of the world, people who want to share their faith in Christ are at risk at their very lives. There are some things that we can't share with you, but what we can share is we think this story can go anywhere a great story can go. And I think the sky's the limit. I think it can be used in small group settings, it can be used individually, it could be downloadable on websites throughout the world.
My biggest hope for this project would be that everybody sees it.
We want to collaborate and work with Josh McDowell Ministries to not just take this project, this message, to Josh's constituents. We want to get this out to the world.
Audiences around the world are going to be able to share with him that spiritual journey too, where the love of God, the grace of Christ transform his life and rejoice with him in the process.
It's the right time for us just to help and do whatever we can to get this film out to as many people as possible so they can not only hear the story of Josh McDowell, but hear the story about Jesus.
The movie is intended to have an appeal to many, many kinds of people, very deliberately so. Just as Christ died for all, we want this movie to be for all.
Well, we're really excited about this project.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
One of the things he'll tell you, though, it's not about him. It's about God's faithfulness. And I think that's one of the beautiful things to see is that God can take a story like Josh's of so many challenges, of abuse, of dysfunction, of running into hardship after hardship after hardship, roadblock after roadblock. And he can turn it into something beautiful and something that other people can relate to. And I think that's where Josh always ends. He's really talking about how faithful God has been to, through his story, make it about God's faithfulness.